a person who likes to create something, or you might not be. And so the idea of hanging out in the sand and getting wet and dirty just might not really be what a lot of people would want to do. But for those who do, it's a fantastic way to release creative energy.
Taking that creative energy, transforming blocks of sand into awe-inspiring creations, Canadian sculptor Fred Dobbs has been following his passion for sand sculpting over the last 35 years.
I actually got my start in Ireland. I was a little boy when my dad buried me in the sand and proceeded to make me in a convertible sports car. And he made the wheels, the body, the chassis, and there I was in this car making the steering wheel. It wasn't maybe 20 years later that I actually started looking at it, and I'd heard about a contest at White Rock, and I was blown away. So I got back into it to do sand sculpting as a competition. And then later what happened is I realized there was another world that existed of professional sand sculptors.
What started out as just a hobby transitioned into a full-time career. Fred has built hundreds of sand sculptures all over the world, both solo and part of sand sculpting teams, winning several Canadian, US, and World Championship titles.
To represent Canada at international sand sculpting competitions is it's sort of a proud moment. I feel proud to be, if you will, kind of a sand ambassador when I travel, and it is a good feeling to know that you come from this beautiful country, and it feels pretty cool to be celebrated in that way. I think the reason I like being a sand sculptor is because you're outdoors in many cases. You get to sculpt fairly large format. There's some setup, but there's not a lot, so you can kind of launch into it fairly quickly.
When it comes to competition, sculptors constantly push their creative skills to the limit. Fred's success over the years is also because of his friendship with longtime sculpting partner Ted Siebert.
Ted and I have competed a lot together over the years. In fact, when we first started out, we were competing against each other. And the rivalry that actually existed was the basis that formed the friendship. We do have a similar sense of humor, and the ideas that we come up with are somewhat shared. That's part of the chemistry, the idea that you're very similarly set in your mind about how you're approaching this task. I think as a sculptor in general, you are still learning, because there's, I don't think, really any way that you master it all. And when you see somebody do something really cool, it's one of those, you celebrate that for what they did, but you also stick it in your back pocket and you go, that's cool, maybe I'll try that next time.
Sculpting sand in front of crowds, whether internationally or close to home on Vancouver Island, continues to drive Fred's passion to create and compete.
One of the great things about being a sand sculptor is that you're outdoors and people are coming up and you're getting immediate responses. It is really cool when you're getting that kind of a pat on the back. Sand sculpting can be a bit of both, a feeling that it is stressful, but it also can be very joyful. And there is something about the perseverance that you need to endure this. The journey sometimes isn't easy, but it is one of those that it can be very rewarding in the end. And so the hard work pays off. When it comes to the sand itself, you want to typically get a young sand, a sand that's not worn round. Round, old sand is kind of like stacking a bunch of marbles, as opposed to if you get young, angular, faceted sand, it's more like stacking Lego blocks. And add to that, if you get an unwashed sand that has silt fines in it, then it will help bond those little angular bits of sand together.